All right, today we are talking about section G of chapter 1 of Baronett. We're talking about inductive arguments and the concepts of strength and cogency. Now look, when we talked about deductive arguments, we had two key terms that we were using. Validity, that was the success term for a logically correct deductive argument. And we had soundness, and soundness was the success term for an argument which is not only valid, but which also has all true premises. Now, for inductive arguments, the parallel terms are strength, that's like the corollary of validity, and cogency, and that's like the corollary for soundness. So for an inductive inductive arguments are not intended to necessitate the truth of their conclusion, but merely to make them probable. So a strong inductive argument is one where if the premises were true, and they may not be, but if they were true, they would make it probable that the conclusion is true. On the other hand, if you have an argument where even if the premises were true, they wouldn't make it probable that the conclusion is true. That's a weak argument. So strong and weak. These are terms for the logical structure, the logical success or failure of an inductive argument. Now, the parallel terms then for soundness, when it comes to truth analysis of an inductive argument, our key term is going to be cogency. So a cogent inductive argument is an argument that is strong and the premises are true. On the other hand, if you have an argument which either is weak or has at least one false premise, then it's uncogent. So cogency, uncogency is parallel to soundness and unsoundness. As with deductive arguments, logical correctness and the truth of all the premises are individually necessary and jointly sufficient for cogency. That means that an inductive argument has to meet both conditions. It has to be strong and it has to have all true premises in order to be cogent. And if it falls short on either one of those points, it is not cogent. Now, if we want to test the strength and cogency of an inductive argument, the first thing we want to look at is, well, its strength, its logical structure. Okay, so here's an example. Let's say that you got an opaque jar. Opaque means you can't see through it. So you've got a jar, it's not a glass jar. You can't see through the walls of this jar. And it contains, we know it contains exactly 100 marbles. And premise one says, well, maybe the opaque jar thing is one of the premises. Another premise says there are 99 blue marbles in the jar. And the next premise says there is one red marble in the jar. Now, the conclusion which is drawn from those premises is that the next marble that you pick is blue. And the question you want to ask is, well, given that 99 out of 100 marbles in this jar are blue, is it probable that the next marble I pick is blue? And the answer is obviously yes. It's like a 99% chance that the next marble you pick is going to be blue. The conclusion is 99% likely to be true. It's highly probable. That's a strong argument. Now, is it necessarily true? Is it possible that you'll pick the red one? Sure. So this isn't a deductively valid argument, but it's not intended to be. It's a strong inductive argument. It merely makes its outcome probable. On the other hand, compare this weak argument. Same jar, same situation, and the conclusion is the next marble picked is red. Now look, do those premises make it likely that the next marble picked is going to be red? No, of course not. They make it highly unlikely. There's like a 1% chance that that conclusion is true given those premises. So therefore, it's a weak argument. So here's your flow chart for inductive arguments. First thing you want to ask is, if we assume the premises are true, then do they make the conclusion likely? If the answer is no, then it's a weak argument and it's not cogent. If the answer is yes, then you want to ask, well, are all the premises in fact true? And again, if the answer is no, it's not cogent. If the answer is yes, it's cogent. Now, one point of clarification here. Sometimes people ask, well, how likely does a conclusion have to be before we say it's probable or not? Like, what's the cutoff line for a strong and weak argument? For my purposes, I'm going to say if a conclusion is 50% likely, or if it's higher than 50%, that makes it probable. That means it's more likely than not. So anything over the 50% threshold counts as probable to me. All right, so here's your 4 possibilities. It's kind of boring to read. Here's a example. Most politicians are liars. Madison is a liar. Thus, she is a politician. And the question you want to ask is that a strong or a weak argument? That is, if the premises were true, if it was true that most politicians are liars, and if it's true that Madison's a liar, does that make it more than 50% likely that Madison is a politician? Think about it. Think about it. You got it? Yeah, that's right. This is actually a weak argument. You know why? Just because most politicians are liars doesn't mean that most liars are politicians. Many of them are not smooth and slick enough to make it on the political circuit. Most of them are just, working normal jobs like the rest of us. You may have encountered them. So even if Madison is a liar, that doesn't make it particularly likely she's a politician. Now, what if we said it a different way? What if we said most politicians are liars? Madison is a politician, therefore Madison is a liar. Would that be a strong or a weak argument? That one is strong, because if most politicians are liars, and like Madison is one of those, she's probably a liar. Or she's probably a liar. That's that.